Another option we have is to creating a pulsating circle using D3. So what we can do is I'm going to just create a new file inside of the pulsating circle folder. Let's call it pulsating circle d3.tsx, and let's do that. First, I'm going to create the function component. So let's call it the same constant pulsating circle d3, and that's equal to function. We don't need any properties, so I'm just gonna return an empty tag for now. There you go. Now the next, wait, we need a fat error here. Okay, now what we can do is we can just use effect. We'll use the hook to call draw method just like we did before. So let's use effect and put a function inside, and in the function let's create draw pulsating circle that will create, and in that method pulsating circle we're going to create our animation. So to do our animation, what we can do is we can create a function that's just going to repeat itself. It's going to repeat itself because the our use effect is going to get called, and that's going to initiate a repeat function. So take a look how I'm going to do that. I'm creating a repeat function, and after that's getting called, I'll do that, and then inside it's just going to repeat itself. And what we need to do, we need to use the select all, and we'll create a circle. So let's add a circle in our JSX, and let's give it a class name circle, and let's give it a CX. We'll give it a CX of 50 and a CY of 50, and then we can create, let's collapse that so we can see it better. Next, we're going to add a stroke. I'll use a color of lime green, and let's add a fill of orange and a radius of 8. Let's close that tag. Now in the select all, we can either use circle or we can use dot circle because we set a class name. Just showing you the different options. So every time we're using something else, but you know, you can find your favorite. I like to usually to use the hash and an ID, but however you like it, you know, just create yourself a way and follow that standard so it's easy for you to read the code. Now we need to import D3, so let's do an import everything as D3 from D3, and let's stay consistent and keep single quote. Now the D3 has no issues. Now in order to use transition, all we have to do is you just use the transition tag, and that will make D3 figure out any changes and handle it on its own. And you'll see it later when we create charts. But what we want to do here is we want to create transitions. So what we can do is we can create almost like an animation script. You'll see how we're doing it. We're going to add a duration of 300, and during that duration what we want to do is we want to change the stroke width. We'll start from 0, and change the stroke opacity. We need to give it, because this is going to loop, so those are going to be the initial values. And then we want to create another transition, and then another duration, and this duration is going to be the same, 300. And inside here, you can copy the attribute. What we can do is we can change the stroke width. We can leave it as 1 and just change the opacity to 0.5. And then what we can do is we can copy this entire thing, transition duration, and we can do another one, and the third one we can change it to 1000, so it's longer, so it's 1000 millisecond, which is 1 second. And then we can change the stroke width to 25, so that's going to create us that pulsating. It's going to take a second to happen. And the stroke opacity to 0, so it's going to start from 0, then it's going to change the opacity to 0.5, and then from 0.5 it's going to change back to 0. So that way we're going to create that nice pulsating. And then we can use methods to kind of how we want to ease it. So if we use the ease, inside the ease we can use d3. You see all the different options. We have ease, circle in and out, bounce out. So I'm going to use the ease sinus. So it's going to create us that nice circle. And what we're going to do is on end, we're just going to call the repeat function. So it's going to loop through our function here. See? So we set up a function, it's going to run twice, and every time it finishes, it's going to repeat running it again. I have a typo here. So it needs to be, let's refactor the name. I have a little typo. Okay. Oops. I did the first letter capital. Let's change that. Pulsating circle. Okay. So that's going to do it. This is probably, yeah, it needs the React. So we need to import React. And let me see if I forget something. We got a circle. The circle needs to be it needs to be nested inside an SVG tag. So I'm going to create an SVG tag and format it. Let's see. There you go. So that should do it. Now what we need to do at the app, let's delete our old code, and in the header we can add the pulsating we're gonna add the pulsating circle d3. The ID is acting up. Okay. And now I think it's not recognizing it because I didn't export the function component. So let's do export default and our function name. I don't want to have any typos, so I'm just going to copy paste it. Okay, there we go. And now let's import that function component. It's not letting me import it, so let's do it manually. I need to import our function component. Oh, I have a typo. Here you go. Okay, let's see. We have, take a look. Great. So you see we got a pulsating circle using D3. So, you know, this is similar to everything we've done before. We just, here what we did is we just orchestrated our transition